Hey, this is Anthony Cesari with SuccessForYourSongs.com, and in this video, I'm going to be looking at a cool vocal harmony writing trick. I use this all the time in my songs, and I think you're going to find it quite useful. Okay, so there's basically two ways you can do this harmony trick that I'm talking about. There's a easier, better, but paid way, and then there's a not as good but free way. And we'll start with the paid way because it's more of the essence of the overall technique that I want to show you. But then we'll cover the free way afterwards, just in case you don't have this resource that I'm going to be showing you here, but you still want to be able to use this. Okay, so you can do this in any DAW. I happen to be on Pro Tools here, but anyone will be fine. And I'm going to be using the plugin Melodyne, which is a tuning plugin. It is a plugin that you have to buy, but it's really powerful and worth it if you are going to do work with vocals at all. So this is the lead vocal line from pre-chorus in one of my songs. It's called Love Is Up in the Air. And this part sounds like this by itself.
No, this is how it's always been. Our pushing, pulling dances in the wind.
Okay, so if you want to write a harmony for this part, a nice visual way to do this, especially if you're just working by yourself, is to make a copy of that track. And I've already done that here. So here's my copy, and then here's the original. And then you can just start by taking the copy and pulling it up. Usually a good place to start is to pull it up a third so you can hear what that sounds like. So basically what we're doing here is we're just using Melodyne. We're using a copy of the vocal, and because it's a tuning software, we could stretch our notes to different pitches, and we're going to hear what that sounds like in different places. So this song is in E flat minor. So if we want to go up a third, you can see along this sidebar here, when you assign your key in Melodyne, it shows you all the notes in your key in light gray. So you can see I'm in E flat minor, and then all of the notes in my key are in light gray, and all the notes that are not in my key are in that darker gray. So I could take this lead melody and I could pull it up anytime I want to go up a third. I'm just skipping over one note in my key and then going to the next note above that. So I could pull this whole thing. I'm going to go from that C flat all the way to the E flat. But then you'll see some of my notes end up not in my key, and I want to make sure they're all in a third or a third above the original. So for the B flat, I'm going to move that down here. Above this A flat, I'll have a C flat. Above that E flat, I'll have a G flat. Above this F, I'll have an A flat. And then above this E flat, I'll have a G flat, and then I'll do the same thing the second time around. Okay, here we go.
No, this is how it's always been.
Okay, so you can hear how it sounds like super robotic, and that's because we just took a copy of our original. This is just going to be for writing. It's not going to be in your final production. You're basically just going to use this to write your melodies, and then you'll re-sing it so that it sounds better. The fact that the pitches change so much, and the fact that it's the same delivery, the same exact delivery from the first time around, since it's a copy, that's making it sound a little funny. But once you figure out what you want that melody to be, then you can re-record it based on the notes that you choose. Before we move on, I just want to mention that we have a couple of free songwriting cheat sheets for you that you can download in the upper right-hand side of the screen. You can just tap that little eye and grab those. Also, if you have not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel to stay updated on our latest songwriting videos, we've got a subscribe button on the lower right-hand side of the video. You can do that there. So what we have here is called parallel motion. The melody is doing the exact same thing as the harmony. But this is where we can start to play with what we have here, and it's great that it's such a visual thing, because again, we know what notes are in a key on the left-hand side, so we can start to say, let's say where we had this B flat up to the D flat, let's say instead of a third, we want to make that a fifth. So now, if we just count up from our notes that were shown on the side, for every note that's in the key, we'll go to the fifth one. So B flat is going to go to F. So this note here, instead of D flat, goes to F. And we'll do that on this guy as well. And then let's do that on the E flat also. So instead of having this G flat, we'll pull that up to B flat. So now we have a mixture of fifths above the melody and thirds above the melody. So now we have what's called contrary motion, because sometimes our harmony is going up against the melody and sometimes it's going down. So that might sound like this. I'll play them both back to back so you can hear the contrary and then the parallel in the next line.
No, this is how it's always been. Our pushing, pulling dances in the wind.
So this is a good way that you can just experiment with the notes that you want. So after some of this experimentation, I ended up choosing a harmony line above the melody, which was this. So I ended up taking the E minor, which is the root of our key, and just having that being a straight melody across the top, which sounded like this.
No, this is how it's always been. Our pushing, pulling dances in the wind.
And then I wanted a second melody to fill this out even more by having a harmony that's underneath. And that one was this.
No, this is how it's always been. Our pushing, pulling dances in the wind.
So I have that contrary motion happening in that lower harmony by it going up as the melody's going down. And then on top of that, I have the high harmony that stays on that same note. And when you have a harmony part that stays on the same note like that, that's called an oblique harmony. So I have an oblique in the high harmony and a contrary motion in the lower. So together, that ended up sounding like this.
No, this is how it's always been. Our pushing, pulling dances in the wind.
So in the final mix, that ended up sounding like this.
I know this is how it's always been. Our pushing, pulling dances in the wind.
And I should mention too, I showed you how it's usually a good idea to start with going to third above the harmony just to get your initial ideas. You can also start by going to third below the harmony as well, especially when you see, in this part I wanted to have two different harmonies, so I have that lower one and the high one. So instead of copying this C flat up to the E flat, I would just copy that down to the A flat instead. So that's how I can get started with my lower harmonies. And then I kind of took this idea even further in the chorus of this song. Because this song has such a minimal arrangement, I really wanted to pack out the chorus with a lot of vocals to just fill out the spectrum more. So I had that kind of room because there's just not a lot of instrumentation happening. So using this same idea to write those harmonies, I did it 4 times over in the chorus. And the general approach I ended up using for this harmony, or for these harmonies, was these lower harmonies you could see were going down, both of these two, and then these 2 higher harmonies went up. So it was really spreading out as the line went along. So that ended up sounding like this.
Love is up in the air.
And that was this in the final mix.
Love is up in the air.
But again, usually writing a 4-part harmony like this would be tricky because there's just so much going on. But when you could see things visually this way, and you could just start off by just copying the original melody that you already have, it becomes a lot easier, especially when you know the notes in your key on the left-hand side. So you can just start to drag and drop and very easily experiment with things. So that's the paid better version. And again, just to reiterate, you're not going to keep the copies. You're just using that to write. Once you actually figure out what you want your harmonies to be, then you're going to re-sing them afterwards. It'll just sound better in your final production. So the free version of this is you go into your piano roll and you just play the or the melody part on your keyboard. So this was the chorus part that we just looked at. And then from there, you could use the same idea with, let's say we wanted to copy all this stuff, this time a third below. I don't have the, on the left-hand side what notes are in my key, so I'd have to, actually look up the key that I'm in or just know it. So this time, if I was going down from G flat, that would take me to E flat, my third below, and then I can change the other notes so that they're a third below also. So then once you have that, then you can just delete or mute your original melody, and now you have the harmony line, and you can just sing along with that as you record that in and learn it. So like I said, that way it's not as good, but it's still a way to do it if you don't have Melodyne or a similar type of visual tuning program that'll let you do things that way. So I hope you found that information useful. If you'd like a lot more ways to improve your songwriting, I've got a couple of free cheat sheets for you that you can download by tapping on the screen here. Also, if you have not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel to stay updated on our latest songwriting videos, you can tap our logo on the screen for that. And there's also a link on this screen where you can hear the song that I played for you in this video and the song that you're hearing right now. So thank you for checking this one out. I'll talk to you in the next one.